The LA Game Space is a proposed non-profit centre for video game play, creation, study and exhibition. To help get the space up and running, its directors produced an experimental game pack with over 30 independent game developers and offered it to backers of their Kickstarter campaign. Of the 15 plus quality games, 3 stand out as highlights: Perfect Stride from the Arcane Kids, Depth from Vince McKelvey, and Alphabet from Kita Takahashi and Adam Saltzman. Alphabet only takes around 10 to 15 minutes to race through, across 10 obstacle courses. You control the Alphabet soup-like characters by holding down the corresponding key on the keyboard and releasing it to jump. The mechanics are incredibly simple, which leaves room for dynamics that become more and more complicated as more letters and obstacles are thrown into the mix. While fun alone, Alphabet is best enjoyed with another player. Frantically trying to find and hit the appropriate keys becomes hilariously hectic, as the music childishly recites the letters of the alphabet, confusing your attempts to communicate with your partner. The entire game is unified by this silliness, with a bright pastel colour palette, jumping, cheering characters, and a core experience of mashing buttons while yelling at someone else. If you're looking for a fun, frantic letter racer, look no further than Alphabet. If you're after something more cerebral, however, take a look at Depth. The game immediately drops you into a pseudo title screen that brilliantly introduces you to what is easily the most innovative mechanic of the past few years. Puzzles are solved using your own depth perception, and as such often require foresight and a bit of trial and error. The game is really good at introducing and teaching you mechanics, and shares more than a passing similarity to Valve's Portal in both setting and structure. Like that game, or more recently A Link Between Worlds on 3DS, Depth forces you to view environments in a new light, so you're always looking for a gap to bridge or platform to create. The puzzles increase in difficulty, eventually becoming truly devious, especially in the last quarter of the game, where the difficulty curve rises dramatically, deterring all but the most hardcore puzzle fans. The restricted colour palette and slow, thudding score ensure that your mental focus remains on puzzle solving, but the visuals overall are a bit on the rough side. Although its ideas and design are more than enough to carry it, a bit more visual feedback would be appreciated, such as an indication on which cubes will float or sink in the air, as well as some kind of audio cue to indicate that lava or lasers are near. Overall though, Depth is an engaging, challenging, and fresh puzzle game. The third game is Perfect Stride, which begins in a darkened apartment with the simple question: where the F are my effing cigarettes? A door opens and you fall down, the screen explodes with static colour and sound, and thundering phrases invade your eyeballs. A series of quick tutorial stages introduce you to the unusual control scheme, where movement and speed are tied to camera movement. This can be confusing at first, but really adds to the sense of energy and speed once you get used to it. With this control scheme, your view of the world is as frantic and fragmented as the hard-edged polygon sculptures and vibrant, pixelated textures that inhabit it. The landscape seems to be a monument to early web and 3D design, where everything is loudly, obnoxiously trying to get your attention, until it all blurs together in a mess of oversaturation and trashy typefaces. Even the loud electro soundtrack begins with the classic Windows startup sound, and exists as an element of the game that lives beyond itself, as a SoundCloud playlist. Perfect Stride shares a lot in common with the Arcane Kids breakout game, Zenith, the most important of which is a rewind mechanic, which allows you to reverse the game as you see fit. This comes in handy when you eat it, or in encouraging the collection of pyramids in dangerous or hard to reach places. The game is equal parts skateboarding and exploration. Like exploit hunting in Quake and Counter-Strike, it's more about finding out how far you can push the game than doing kickflips. Similar to games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, once you've mastered the controls, the sense of movement, speed, and flow is unparalleled. This version of Perfect Stride is still in development, but I can't wait to play the final game. The LA Game Space is a truly exciting idea, not only because of its focus on collaboration and inclusion, but also for the kind of games that it will inevitably produce. You can purchase the experimental game pack that contains Alphabet, Depth, and Perfect Stride, along with many others, from GamePacks.net for $15. If you do pick it up, also be sure to check out Inputting and Sunshine, but every one of the games has something interesting to offer. So if you're interested in the experimental, the abstract, or unusual, I highly recommend checking it out.